Hey gang, what's up? Welcome back here to another edition of Intuitive Angling. Much appreciated you guys making some time out of your day to watch the video. I know that everybody just has a limited amount of time to do these things, so much appreciated you guys spending your time with me on the Intuitive Angling here. Guys, today we're going to be talking about one of the most frustrating and common problems in bass fishing, and that is bass that follow a lure and don't hit it. Now this is common a lot with like topwater lures, swim baits, any bait that you reel. We're going to give some tips and advice on what you can do with that. So real quick, guys, we're into May now. Just before we get started, just a couple of quick housekeeping tips. We're getting into May, so that means summer is right around the corner. And guys, I'd like to invite you to head over to fishthemoment.com and check out our summer lake map breakdowns. We got a big selection of summer breakdowns, all the big lakes across the country. If we don't have one on the website, you can book a virtual lesson with me. We can go over any lake, doesn't matter how big or small it is. So it's a real good resource about finding some good spots in the summer. I'll include the Fish the Moment lake map breakdown in the description here, so much appreciated. Okay guys, this is actually, I wanted to do this video because I was down, I had an on the water lesson at Table Rock today, and I've actually got a tournament there this weekend. And Table Rock is, famous, for having fish follow baits and not bite them, because it's clear water for the most part, and it gets a lot of heavy fishing pressure. The fish are spooky, so this happens a lot. So first of all, let's talk a little bit about the mood and the personality of the fish. One of the things that when you're trying to figure out how to catch these followers, one of the big things that you have to realize and accept is the mood and the personality of the fish. Now, you hear me talk a lot about mood and personality on this channel, because for good reason, because it is so critical in understanding bass behavior and if they bite or not. So the first thing that you have to understand is that there's a segment of the bass out there that you simply can't catch, even if they follow your bait in, and even if they look like they're interested, they're just not interested in biting, and there's nothing that you can do to get those fish to bite. You could drop a live shad or a live crawdad or a live perch or whatever, and they still wouldn't hit it. They're just simply in a negative feeding mode. And one of the things that's common thread amongst the bass that follow your lures in and don't hit it is they are acting upon one of their many instincts as a bass. Because one of the biggest things that people don't understand is that very rarely do bass bite a lure because they're actually hungry and feeding. Most of the time it's out of other impulses like anger and competition and curiosity and reflex and all that type of stuff. And this is one of the things that you're dealing with when you have a follower, is they are acting out of their sense of curiosity. They see something coming through the water there and they come over to investigate there because they're a predator. And especially if you're in clear water, if they get too good of a look at a bait, they're never going to hit it. And this is real common if you throw bigger swim baits and glide baits. It's notorious with that, but it can happen with anything. I mean, I've had fish do it just reeling a jig in that I've flipped into a bush before, or reeling in a Texas rig or anything like that. So they'll follow any bait in like that. So the point of the fact is accept the fact that there are some bass that you're never going to catch. Okay, now let's talk about the ones that you can catch a little bit. There's two different ways that I have found that you can catch followers. The first one is you have to get right in there really quick. It's like if you see a fish following a bait, really, and they're tracking it and you don't think they're going to bite it, reel it in as fast as you can and get a wacky rig and throw a wacky rig out there as soon as you possibly can, right in front of the fish. And if that fish is in a positive feeding mode, more than not, they're going to bite that wacky rig. Now, this is something that you have to be quick in. You don't have much time. It's like if you reel your bait in real quick and you lay it on the deck and you're fumbling around for your wacky rig and you're trying to get it off the guides and then you got your line wrapped around the end, you're just wasting your time. You have got to be spot on immediately. It's like as soon as you see that, you got to reach down, pick it up, and boom, you've got literally seconds to capitalize on that hot fish personality. Now, if that doesn't work, Another option you can do is reel your bait in real fast. And the reason, and we're gonna do something else here. Reel your bait in real fast. And guys, it's important to reel your bait in real fast, because what happens is the longer that a bass tracks a lure, the more that he's going away from his home territory. Because most of the time when you pull a bass off something to follow a lure, it's normally came off of some object, even if you can't see it. There could be a stump down there, there could be a rock or whatever. But get that bait in as quick as possible so you don't pull that fish away from their home territory that they guard a little bit. So then as soon as you do that, get your boat, hit the trolling motor, get your boat a long way from it, and keep an eye on that exact spot where you saw that fish. It's like, one of the things I'll do, it's like if I'll reel that in, and it's like I'll look at the spot where I saw the fish, and I never take my eye off of it, and I hit my trolling motor, and I try to get maybe 50, 60 feet away from it. Never taking my eye off of the place where the fish came up, because if you do, you're gonna miss the strike zone. So once I get 50 feet away from it or so, something where I have a long cast, that's when I'll make a cast back to that area with some type of a finesse bait. It could be a wacky rig, it could be a drop shot, it could be a shaky head, something like that. And a lot of times what happens is those fish, if they're sort of in a neutral mode, they could go either way, they could bite, they might not bite, is if you back off of it and throw in there with a different presentation, a lot of times that you can catch those fish with that. Most of the time your finesse presentations are going to, if those fish are following, you're more than likely to catch them with some type of a finesse presentation than anything else, especially if the water's clear. Now, if the water is not clear, if the water's got some stain to it, like it's, say, less than 3 feet or less visibility, my favorite follow-up lure is a jerkbait. If I see a fish following it, I'll do the same thing as what we just talked about, but just use a jerkbait. A jerkbait will generate a strike from a reaction fish, or excuse me, from a follower, because it's a reaction bait in that water clarity, about better than about anything that I've had. And finally, guys, one of the things to remember is remember where this happened at, because a lot of times you can come back an hour later or just a little bit later in the day, and you can come back and sneak up on that area and catch that fish by making a long cast. Because like I said, most of the time what you have to realize is that bass are just not constantly cruising down the bank, and by pulling that fish away from there and allowing that fish to show itself to you, there's normally something down there that attracts that fish to live there. And normally a fish in shallow water like that has got it's sort of got a little territorial instinct with it. So anyway, that's my advice with it. Like I said, there's things you can do to give you the advantage, but ultimately, guys, it's all about if the bass is hot or not to bite. I mean, that's just it's normally more about the personality of the specific fish than it is what you can do to get that fish to bite. So, hope it helps, guys. We'll talk later. See you.